Extraordinary Life Stories is proudly sponsored by the Georgia Emerson Centre.
Hello, my name is John Reynolds. On this episode of Extraordinary Life Stories, I'm talking with celebrity osteopath Nadia Alibhai. Nadia has over 20 years experience and is the founder and principal osteopath of Back to Wellbeing, a multidisciplinary healthcare clinic in London. Nadia shares her experience of breaking through glass ceilings and taboo as a woman leading the way in osteopathy. Early on in her journey, she was told, "You don't look like an osteopath," and now she regularly appears on our televisions on This Morning. Her relatability and passion for helping people is inspiring and much needed, with over 10 million people suffering from back pain in the UK. I am really looking forward to talking with Nadia. So tell me, who is Nadia Alibhai?
So I'm an osteopath, I'm a mum, and I'm also a clinic owner, and as well as that I do TV and radio, where I spread a lot more news and information about how you can look after yourself and your health.
Amazing. What did a young Nadia want to do when you were growing up?
Do you know, honestly, I don't really know. When I think back, I remember holding my mum's brush and trying to present. It was one of my things. I loved presenting and introducing people on shows, but I also loved helping people.
Yeah.
And I remember once, years ago, I had a lady saying to me, "Oh, you'd be a really good doctor." And I knew I wanted to do something where I can make people feel better. And then when I was 10, I was in school and all of a sudden I just lost my eyesight. And both my eyes, I couldn't see a thing. Everything went pitch black.
No warning.
No warning. And back, you know, they had those desks which you lift up, and I literally stuck my head in there and I closed it over and I didn't know what to do. I was panicked, a 10-year-old child. And my friend came over to my desk and she said, "What's going on?" And I said, "I can't see." So she took me to the teacher and they called my mum, and my mum took me to the GP, and the doctor there said, "Oh, she's suffering a migraine attack. I think it's her long hair. I think she chopped her hair off." And he gave me these tablets to take home. So my mum had to guide me home. And at this point, the blindness has now gone into flashing lights. And I got home and I took these pills and I felt awful. And it took days for this to subside. So literally, I would be feeling pain. I would be I couldn't see, lots of visual disturbance. I'd feel nausea. I'd want to vomit. And all I could really do is lie there because everything hurt. I couldn't even cry because of the pain. And it was at this point what I started doing is I started touching points on my face. And I thought, oh, hold on, if I'm touching under my eyebrow, I can actually see. So what's going on here? So I started touching points on my face and I started to realize, actually, I'm feeling better. If I put my finger right at the base, I can actually see. The pain is going. I can breathe better. So I started to, at that point, I was really curious into natural ways of healing, natural ways of feeling better, because when I would take these tablets, they didn't really do anything. I would just feel numb and groggy. Wow. Yeah. So that's where it started. I was really intrigued with helping people. I was intrigued in natural ways of helping people. Sure. And I then stumbled across something called naturopathic medicine. And I thought, right, I want to be a naturopath. And I went to the university for an interview, as you do. And the lecturer said, "Hey, why don't you mix up naturopathic medicine with osteopathic medicine?" I said, "What's that?" Osteopathy wasn't a big thing then. It was more about physiotherapy. Okay. So I looked into it and I thought, oh, this sounds really interesting, structure, motion, we can, working with the two together. And I had really bad posture. I used to play the trombone.
Okay.
So as a 10-year-old, I'd play it and I'd have this big rucksack and I'd be quite hunched. I was really hunched as a child.
Yeah, big heavy instrument.
Yes, but I'd also have encyclopedias in my rucksack. I was the geek. So I would read every book you could read. And now at this point, I'm thinking, hold on, an osteopath and my posture's not really that great. But let's do this. I was now, I'd taken a year off after my A-levels. I was about 19 and I went in and did this 4-year degree. During this time is when I started to learn about how realigning makes you feel. I haven't suffered a migraine for 20 years now because I'm so much better in myself. I've learned to understand my body better. I find we are always our best fixers.
Yeah.
And if we can learn if we can listen to our body when it speaks, that's when it all connects.
Because bear in mind, you could have spent a lifetime on pills.
And many
And I
people
imagine
do.
you don't even take them anymore.
I don't, no, I don't. And I have lots of patients that will come in to see me because they suffer from migraines, and they'll come in saying, I've suffered most of my life, and this is once a week, and I take this, that, and I just want to stop because I feel terrible. Yeah. And that's when, just realize, looking at their body, if you start lifting things, stretching things, you're increasing the blood supply, looking around tension areas around the mouth, releasing all of that. It makes such a difference.
Is there one major kind of common denominator where people are coming to you, or in your profession, where people are suffering from something that is kind of the overall number one kind of thing that migraines or sitting badly for work? Is there one thing that dominates?
So it used to be back pain, lower back pain. Now I find it's mixing up. There's a mixture of lower back pain, but I'm getting. So let's say 20 years ago, I'd have people that were sort of in their 40s onwards that come in to see an osteopath. Now I'm seeing people as young as their 20s because there's so many people working from home, right? So working from home, you may not have the right work ergonomics. You may just be working from your bed with a laptop, and that's causing a lot more rounding. With that, people are on Zoom meetings, there's social media. You can get a photo of yourself in a second, as opposed to back in the day, you go and get the film reel. Yeah, so it's changing, and people are more aware of, oh, I'm looking a bit slouched, my head is a bit too far forward, oh, my neck doesn't show. So all of that, I feel, is changing the way it is. So right now, in particular, posture is one of the things people come in for, but also tension in their spine.
So actually, there's two things there, because with posture, I've got 11 and 13-year-old, two daughters, who are using the phone a lot more than I would like, no matter how much more often I try. And so the stance is that, and they could be there for a long time without them even necessarily realising, TikTok or what have you.
Yeah.
So is that something, because we weren't doing that, I wasn't doing that when I was growing up, right? Is that going to cause problems with kids now, much earlier into their sort of 20s, 30s? Is that something that's...
I say yes. So if we think about the head weighs approximately 5 kilos, right? So the skull. Now, think about the little vertebrae. So you've got 7 vertebrae in your neck. So imagine a fishing rod and the head's dropping forward, and these vertebrae are trying to pull you back. But if the muscles at the back of your neck aren't very strong and you're always looking down, the head plus gravity is going to be pulling. So what eventually happens is you're noticing people are more here than here.
Yeah,
so
I feel like I can sit up straight.
But it's also about how you sit. So when people sit, for example, you'll sit on your bum as opposed to your sitting bones. And what I say to people, and I say, don't do this in front of your work colleagues, but grab one butt cheek, pull it aside, try it. And grab the other, pull it aside, and you'll feel these like knobbly bones. Do you feel the bones? Right, those are your sitting bones. So those are the bones that you should actually be sitting on.
Right.
Things like a saddle stool, have you heard of that?
No.
So a saddle stool, it's almost like a horse saddle.
Yeah.
It makes you naturally sit on your sitting bones as opposed to going to work and pulling. It's a great way to make sure that you're upright, and it just makes it easier. Sitting on a hard seat like this, a hard surface, also helps. So if you're sitting on a soft sofa or a soft mattress, you'll naturally want to sink into it, right? So doing something like this on a hard surface will keep you upright. But going back to the TVs and the iPads, this looking down is going to happen. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, and one of the tips I give them is either bend your knees up and prop it up. So you want it as close to eye level as you can get, or get some cushions. So if I see them on their iPads, I just get cushions, load it up, and then I get it up and I just say, hold it at an angle, and it makes such a difference.
That's brilliant.
Sit back and hold it at an angle.
That's amazing. Thank you. I'll be going home to implement that straight away. The other thing you mentioned was tension, which something that I've always felt. I've always tried to keep fit, and any one time I hurt myself water skiing, for example, when I was in my late teens, and hurt my lower back. That's when I went to see an osteopath because I was physically injured. But the tension that you're talking about comes from mental stress, right?
It's a lot.
And you're seeing a lot of that, anxiety,
so much.
stress.
Anxiety. Anxiety is one. So with anxiety, a lot of times people breathe from here as opposed to the diaphragm, right? So there's a lot happening here. If you've ever had a panic attack or had an anxiety attack, it's more of a stress, all of that's here. You'll see people wearing their shoulders up as their earrings because it's all here. And it's really about trying to drop it down, trying to take the breathing lower down.
Sure.
But I do find emotional stress can really build in the shoulders.
Interesting. So that, going back to that question a little bit earlier, where the most kind of common things, that's a big thing at the moment, is it?
It's huge. And I find also, as well as this area, the jaw, when you're tensed, it's almost like you just close it up here. So there's a lot of times patients will come in and I start to release muscle tissues, and then I'll get some gloves on and I go inside their mouth and I'll say, just give me a thumbs up if it's uncomfortable, and they'll be there and there'll be tears streaming down, and I'll say, are you okay? And they'll say, no, it's just a lot of emotions have just come to the surface of things I've been holding on to.
Yes.
And it releases, and you just notice the body just kind of goes into jelly and just totally lets go. And I think we hold on to a lot, past memories, things that haven't made us happy.
Yeah.
And it's just about allowing the body to release it all.
Oh, it's amazing what you're doing. Are there people, do you think, that should be coming to you, need treatment, but actually they think it's not for me, or I don't need that, or I can't afford it, whatever it might be? Do you think there's people that are suffering almost in silence?
Absolutely. And I mean, this is one of the reasons I took to social media, because I found it was my way of giving. It was my way of providing information for people that can't actually come into
That's
me.
brilliant.
So for me, it's a way that someone who's got low back pain, what do I do? Here you go, here's the stretches. Someone who has a scoliosis, can this be helped? Here's some before and afters of what I did, but here is what you can do from home to help with this and help ease this. So it's, for me, providing help to people, for them, and just tips, little tips. And I think they can just make such a difference to people's actual lifestyle and quality of life.
Yeah, I love that.
Extraordinary Life Stories is proudly sponsored by the Georgia Emerson Centre. Introducing the Georgia Emerson Centre, where innovation meets health. If you are tired of waiting for a diagnosis or believe there should be other ways to treat your condition, the Georgia Emerson Centre could help you. We take a patient-first approach and offer the latest medications and technological advancements in private healthcare across a number of key areas, including but not limited to headaches, migraines and chronic pain, mental health conditions, addiction and ADHD diagnosis and treatment. We have an on-site lab for diagnostics to enable you to receive health assessments on your terms and in your timelines. From our state-of-the-art clinic in central London, our consultants want to help you improve your quality of life and access to affordable healthcare services. Take back control of your health at the Georgia Emerson Centre. Extraordinary Life Stories is proudly sponsored by the Georgia Emerson Centre.
My wife actually is a reflexologist.
Is she? Oh
Yes.
my God, I did reflexology. I love
Brilliant.
that.
So, and I know from her point of view that she before children in particular, she was prolific, very busy. But one of the things I remember was she went into reflexology because of how much she liked having it. Does someone give you osteopathy? Do you,
Yes,
do you know what I mean? Because it's so easy to kind of,
So within
you
my
keep
clinic,
that going yourself.
absolutely. I have some amazing practitioners within my clinic, and for me, maintenance is key. It's almost like getting your car MOT'd. You need to get your body MOT'd. You can change your car whenever you want, but you can't change your body. So it's about servicing it throughout. I get myself MOT'd. There's times that I have no issues or no problems or no aches or pains, but it's just come check me, what's going on? I stand a lot and I'm doing lots of leaning forward. I don't want to end up ruining my posture or my joints through it. So it's really about helping all of that.
Yeah. And actually following that, so a lot of that's from a physical point of view. There's so many things you can do now, from breathing exercises to meditation to going to the gym. What works for you? What are the things that you swear by?
I'm a mixture of it. So I like to box. So I like to release my stress that way. But I found recently, I just don't feel I love boxing so much, and I tend to play with it. So through the seasons, it changes. I play with yoga at some stage. I will go for reformer Pilates. I will box. I will run. What I do love to do is the breathing techniques before I sleep. So I'm one of those people that at the end of the day, once I've come home and I've seen all my patients that have come and told me everything, and I just want to release a lot of that so I can go in the next day fresh. I like to end my day with things like magnesium salt baths, and I light some candles. And that just to me is when I close that door, it's my time. It's where I can now allow myself to also heal, because listening to people and helping people you can also take quite a bit on yourself. And I need to make sure that I'm looking after my mental health. So for me, that's one of the things that I do to just start to relax my body. And then after that, I'll go into bed and I'll do some breathing techniques. And that to me is my form of meditation. But as well as that, do you know what I love doing, John? I love going for long walks. I'm a country nature person. So
I love that too.
I love it. Just the sound of the birds, the green, the colours. I'll take my sunglasses off. I've stopped wearing sunglasses mainly because I want to... It's all to do with the hormones and the melatonin. So I want to take it in through my eyes. But colours...
Especially in this country, especially in the UK. Right?
Exactly. But I think colours are so important. So when you go into a park, rather than wearing your sunglasses and seeing everything as dark, take them off, look at the skies, look at the green, look at the daffodils. And I think that's so uplifting.
So I crave it.
Yes.
Especially being in London, I actually live down in the New Forest, and I can't wait to get back and then just get out and do a workout outside or whatever it might be.
Yes, because it's also grounding and it's connecting.
Yeah.
It's your time where, although you're walking and you're moving, because a lot of people think meditation is like crossing your legs and chanting Om, but I think it's being with yourself. So just going for a walk where you can kind of get lost and just be in that moment.
And actually, you get your thoughts, as you say, you sort of decompress, but also then things that you might have compartmentalised or forgotten about, they come back to you. And I think if you don't take a break, and I think it's brilliant, you do make the time for yourself. You just build up more and more stress.
I agree.
And a lot of people won't give themselves that time. And of course, you're a mum, busy with the business and the media.
Yes.
How do you juggle that side of things? Because that's not easy for everyone.
So, and this is where I'm a Libra, so balance to me is everything. So if I start to tip, that's when it's game over. So for me, it's organisation. Like I have to make sure because I know Monday through to Thursday, it's clinic, it's TV, it's radio, it's newspapers, magazines. So that's that end. So that's Nadia, the osteopath, and then there's Mummy, where I need to make sure that the meals are made, the laundry's done, the house is clean, their homework's done. So it's all for me. If I haven't prepared for my week, I find on a Sunday I kind of start meal prepping. I start prepping everything that I'm doing. So that's how I get my balance with doing the two. But then as well as that, that's when I have to have time for myself. So I have to de-stress through the hot bath, through the walks. And sometimes I don't have time for going for walks. So I'll just pick up the phone and I'll speak to a friend. And it's just a way of clarifying my thoughts through the day. And it's bouncing off each other. And I just find that is releasing, finding ways to release things that we're holding on to.
Take me back to when you were qualified and breaking into setting up your own clinic or working for someone else. Take me through that journey.
Well, that was a really interesting one. So I came out of university and I was so excited to get out there. I just thought, right, I want to work as an associate. I really want to learn more. And back in the days, you remember the yellow pages. I opened the big yellow pages and I marked down every osteopath there was. And I called each one because my dad's like, when are you going to get a job? Why are you still sat at home? So I called each one and I'd get called in for interviews. And I'd go in really excited and it'd be literally seconds of me walking in and sitting down and I'd get you don't look like an osteopath. And I would think, what does this mean? Yeah. And I had a lady say, oh, you look like you should be in the fashion industry. What made you choose osteopathy? So I'm trying to sell myself as in I really do care for people. And I'd always get a no, sorry, I don't think you're suited. And I remember going to one practitioner who lifted my hand. He lifted my hand and my wrist and he said, these aren't hands of an osteopath. Did you really go into the right profession? Did you think about this?
Wow.
And I was getting so disheartened. And I was going home.
Did it make you more determined?
Oh, it made me so determined.
Did I need to ask?
It was then I said, right, you know what? I've called every osteopath in the yellow pages and no one wants to give me a job there. So what am I going to do next? I've got my dad badgering on saying, why are you still at home? When are you moving out? And I thought, right, I'm going to start my own practice. And at that point, I thought, right. So I started calling different places and I found this amazing luxury gym. And I thought, how am I going to fit in here? You know, I was like 23 and I popped in and they said, look, we have a room to rent. So you could rent a room in this gym and you could start off. And I said, okay, here we go. And I went and made some leaflets by hand and I put them in the letterboxes of all the surrounding people, the surrounding streets. And I went in and I felt so positive when I went in. I said, you know what, I'm going to go in, I'm going to make a difference.
Well done you.
And I did it. And I went in and there was no one in my diary. And as people coming in, I was just introducing myself saying, this is what I do. How about you come in for a free spinal check? And by 2 weeks, I was fully booked.
Oh, well done you.
Yeah, it was incredible. Story. And I felt, it was like, for me, it was one of those things that it was surreal because a month ago, I'm being told you're in the wrong profession, you shouldn't have done this. And a month later, because I feel I was so I wasn't having it.
No.
I wasn't having it. I said, right, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And I did. And so that's when I started and I fell in love with treating. I fell in love with it because you have people coming in and they have so much that they really want you to help with. And once you start to make that difference and you could see it in people and when someone comes in with a walking stick and they leave without it.
Oh, that's satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
It was lovely.
So talk me through from what you're now set up successful, the media. How did the media come about? Because what I love is that that classic kind of old git that sort of said, are you sure you've chosen the right profession? Well, he's not on TV, he's not on the BBC radio. So it's you. But how did you make that happen?
So firstly, I kind of was slow and steady with my clinical practice. I enjoyed working in clinic. I travelled to Canada. In Canada, in Toronto, osteopathy was not very known. So I said, right, I'm going to make a difference. And I went into a boutique gym and there was a chiropractor and a physio. And I said, right, I'm going to be an osteopath. And I worked there for about 8 months and it was fully booked by the time I left. And I said, right, I have to leave now. I'm going back to London. My mother had sadly been diagnosed with breast cancer. So I came back to London and at that point, I had my little girl, my who's now my eldest, and then I had a second daughter too. So I had them 2 years apart. And at that point, I thought, okay, maybe this is my time to start to kind of push, slow it down. Maybe I need to just focus on motherhood and just being at home. And I started doing that. So 3 months after giving birth, I thought, right, I'm just going to be at home. And I felt that there was something missing. I loved being a mum. I love being a mum. But there was some part of me that I wasn't able to help others. I love teaching people how to care for themselves and be pain-free. And at that point, I said, right, I'm going to slowly start to go back into work. And then COVID happened. So the lockdown happened.
Sure.
And my youngest at this point was 2 years old. And me being a key worker, and their dad was now working from home, I was like, right, you're working from home, the kids are with you. I have patients that are on waiting lists to see me. I'm going to increase the time I'm working. So I started to increase the time I'm working, and all of a sudden this room that I'm renting within a space was not enough.
And you out of a tough situation, right? COVID was difficult for anyone that was physically practicing and needing to see people.
It was so hard.
You turned a difficult situation into a positive one. An amazing outcome.
Thank you.
And then just quickly, so from a media point of view, so you actually going on the TV and being the person that is being asked the questions in front of millions of people. How did that happen?
That was really interesting. I was with a patient and I kept seeing my phone going off and, treating my patient. And when I went on my lunch break, I went to my phone and I had a voicemail saying, hello, I'm calling you from blah, blah show. We would love to have you on the show. And I thought, this isn't real. I just ignored it. I then had this number calling again. So I picked it up and they said, we'd love to have you on the show. And I said, so how do you know about me? And they said, oh, we've seen your profile. And I'm like, where have you seen it? Because I just thought this, and then they said they'd gone onto my website and they'd found me on my socials and they wanted me on the show. And it was really exciting. And then from there, I was, called by BBC Radio London as well. And it's just been very organic. Yeah. And I'm really enjoying it.
Feels like it's almost a bud. It's about the bloom, right?
I do feel that.
A lot of people are talking to me about you and what you do and how you do it, which the marriage is fantastic. And there's millions of people. Did I read somewhere there's like 10 million people in the UK that suffer from? Yeah. I mean, that's just one part of what you're ultimately helping with.
And I think the difference with being in media is you're able to reach out to more people. So when I'm one-to-one with a patient in a room, it's me and that patient. But once I go on radio or I go on TV, there's a lot more people out there that are being helped. And that can it's that one little tip. There might be a little sentence I put in and that resonates. Yeah. And that sentence is going to actually help them on, feeling better about themselves and being pain-free.
Yeah, and honestly, whether it's being dad to two amazing daughters or just the fact that I've got a real craving to learn, that's what I'm doing with you now. And then anyone watching ultimately is learning so much from it. So I'd love to ask you, what's your greatest strength?
That I care. I think it's I'm passionate as an osteopath, but I think the difference is that I want to make the difference. I care. That patient to me is an individual. You're not just a patient that's walked in through the door. And I feel that to me, the fact that I care and I want to know why this has happened, I think that makes it slightly different as to how I treat.
That's a great strength. And what about your greatest weakness?
My greatest weakness is also my strength. So I think the fact that I care so much, there's a lot of times, I feel it. So, if I have patients that are going through stuff, I'm doing everything I can to help them, but I will leave clinic sometimes just feeling that. And I just feel like I wish I could just fix it completely for them. So I think it's sometimes that I might care too much.
No, I get that, but can you care too much?
No, I think it's a good thing.
Makes you, it's like you say, it flips it into, it makes you good at what you do.
It just makes you a passionate person.
Yeah. And someone watching you, whether that, or flip it as a younger version of yourself growing up and some of the things you've gone through, what advice would you give to someone coming through as an aspiring entrepreneur and potentially female as well? What advice would you give?
I would say continue to believe in yourself. I think it's all about there's going to be lots of noise. There's going to be lots of people saying you can't. And if you believe you can do it, you just go. You don't think about how you're going to do it. You don't think about the whole staircase. Just think about that first step in front of you and take it one step at a time. But it's about believing in yourself and going with that gut.
I love that. Nadia, I've learned so much just from talking to you today. It's been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the programme.
Extraordinary Life Stories is proudly sponsored by the Georgia Emerson Centre. Introducing the Georgia Emerson Centre, where innovation meets health. If you are tired of waiting for a diagnosis or believe there should be other ways to treat your condition, the Georgia Emerson Centre could help you. We take a patient-first approach and offer the latest medications and technological advancements in private healthcare across a number of key areas, including but not limited to headaches, migraines and chronic pain, mental health conditions, addiction and ADHD diagnosis and treatment. We have an on-site lab for diagnostics to enable you to receive health assessments on your terms and in your timelines. From our state-of-the-art clinic in central London, our consultants want to help you improve your quality of life and access to affordable healthcare services. Take back control of your health at the Georgia Emerson Centre.